Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the weekly halaqah. And we'll go straight into it, inshallah ta'ala. Go on to the first slide, please. So this week we're going to look at etymology, shape, form, and vibration. Of course, within the time restraint, we can only just brush over it, but it's just to give you a flavor, and we're going to dip into, again, the nazm of the Quran, the structure, the coherence, and the order. It's all about just trying to increase this relationship with the Quran, and embedded in the Quran is the Al-Kitab al-Kawn, or the Al-Quran Taqwini, known as the Book of Nature as a metaphor. So this is what all of the halaqah is about. And then for you then, inshallah ta'ala, to do your own homework and to increase that, inshallah ta'ala. Go on to the next slide. I always start off with the mother tree, and let's just recap on the foundations, inshallah ta'ala, that the language of nature, this design language of nature that we're trying to continually explore, such a vast language which is embedded in the Al-Kitab al-Kawn, the Al-Quran Taqwini, and has many layers, just like an onion. The Quran is an organic unity, and it connects into a beautiful relationship of total harmony. So the ayat, the surahs, are all organically in a coherent whole, just like this tree. Each surah is connected to the next surah, and they're paired up, and all the groups they become variations of the same basic theme, the same basic message, which is repeated throughout the Quran through the pattern of fractals. Hence, we start off with the mother tree. So this repeated message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continually gives, which is the basic theme, although it changes throughout the Quran. Okay, it's through this pattern of fractals, and that's why learning to identify and see patterns is very important. And patterns connects with the language of nature. And as I continually say, the three key words we must always connect to is relationships, patterns, and context. So when one looks at all of the teachings of Hearts SEE, from its key principles of nature to the three comprehensive conquests of Islam, the self, the environment, nature, when we explore the macro and the micro, every single lesson that we have spoken about in what, so many years now, in all the workshops of the halaqah, they all return to and connect to, of course, the opening ayat, the opening ayat revealed to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. And all of Hearts SEE lessons, we can say tonight, are embedded in the mother tree. But if we was exploring the honeybee, we could say all of our Hearts SEE lessons and the whole of the foundation is embedded in the honeybee. Because if you look at the honeybee, you're looking at the micro, then we're looking at the macro. If we're looking at the mother tree, we're looking at the micro, we're looking at the micro, we're looking at the macro. All of the Quranic lessons in relation to the mother tree are embedded also in the tree. So Hearts SEE is trying to connect all of this. Okay, it's connecting to the Quran, it's connecting to the Sunnah, the teachings of our beloved Messenger, but it's not just in theory, it's very much in a practical element. So what do we see? And I always return to it, and I always ask that question, what do we see when we see the tree, when we see this mother tree? Well, we're going to see the relationship between this tree and the Nazm of the Quran, the science of structure, order, coherence, which brings in shape, order, pattern, sound, vibration, and resonance, which is all embedded in the Nazm of the Quran. And what's key here is to get to this magnificent mother tree, then we have to start with the roots. And the roots are obviously what we cannot see, but the most important part are the roots. And when we look at, we just go on to the next slide, please. We're going to cover etymology, and in Arabic, each letter is assigned to its meanings, and this helps to connect and see the bigger picture. And each letter is assigned, is an ayah in itself. So obviously, when we look at the mother tree and the focus on the mother tree, as we've taught many times, and it's there in the Quran, and we're going to just look at an ayat tonight very briefly, and in relation to the mother tree and the science of the mother tree and the research of the fungi and the root system. But in relation to the Arabic language, that we start off with three basic letters, the trilateral roots, okay? And all these root letters, they connect they are descriptive, okay? They all fit each. If we just look at how the basic Arabic language starts with the trilateral three letters, each letter, okay, which are descriptive in themselves, so they are ayats within themselves, they fit into the contexts of the object of the khabar. So etymology of Arabic, let's go on to the next slide. Meaning that how words in a language originate. Okay. It allows us to look back at the history of words. So we've just seen the beautiful picture of the mother tree. And so we have to understand how that tree originated. It originated with the seed and it went through its various stages. And when you're learning the Arabic language and you're looking at root letters, as you can see here, the tree is used as a beautiful way to describe how everything develops in stages and shapes. So likewise, for us today as Muslims and humanity at large, we must return to the origins. So etymology in Arabic is, again, it is how words in the language originate, and it allows us to look back in history of words to see how they've developed. And in Arabic, we start with those three letters, the three trilateral letters. And that connection for us as Muslims is to return, the lesson for us is to return back. And you may have heard of my saying, what we need to do and what Hearts SEE does is to go back to the future. We have to go back, okay, in history, which is to the fitrah, in order to change, which is the transition to the transformation, to then go forward. And that's what the ulama say today. In order to deal with today's problems, we have to go back. We have to learn from, connect with the Quran, connect with the Sunnah, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, connect with the companions, the first three generations, and then to go forward. And one of the reasons of Hearts SEE in the foundation that we deal with is the sit spot exercises in the natural world. It enables us to go back to these very basics. Go on to the next slide. So Arabic words, therefore, begin with three letters, and they're very basic, okay? So let's just give an example in English. Let's look at the word texting. We're going to come onto the tree in a moment. the word texting. Okay, that's broken into two words. We break it up. Text, which means writing, and then ing at the end of texting, which is the suffix meaning, which is to do. So you have the three letters, okay, which are descriptive in themselves. And then even if you had a longer word, a longer Arabic word, you have to learn how to go in with your observation and seeing, and to then, because often a long word, it can be two words, as in like texting. To give you an example, which isn't up here, and you can also just have a look at it. If you go into Surah Al-Imran, verse 190, the original word in the ayat for creation is khalaq, okay? And that is the Mazda. Okay, so Surah Al-Imran, although we haven't highlighted it here, verse 190, in that ayat is the word creation. There you will see in Arabic it is khalaq, which is the Mazda, which means it's not static. So like with texting, ing, the equivalent in Surah Al-Imran, therefore, is that creation with the ing on the end, which is creating, which helps us to understand why the sit spots are important, that every time we are connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, hence why don't you see, why don't you look, everything of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation is not static. That's the importance of the ing, okay? Everything is moving, everything is vibrating, hence the vibration, the resonance, and the frequency. And to 99.99% of humanity, that they're not seeing any movement at all. But it is only those that can see and can observe who are going through the process of Tazkiyah al-Nafs, which, remember, again, is the second mission to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, which is in Surah Jumu'ah, after the first mission is to Yatlu alayhim, to recite on them. That it is only those that are going from level 1 Islamic contemplation, tafakkur, up through the layers, that actually will look at an example of a tree and not see a static tree, but will actually see it moving in terms of zikr and praising of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where others would have no idea. It is for those that remember, that can think and ponder and see. So the three root letters, as with all of the Arabic letters, okay, being descriptive. Another example, which isn't on the screen here, Sayyad, which is a car. Okay, if we just break that down into the root letters, the three key root letters, you've got Sin, Ya, and Ra. And the descriptive understanding of that is traveling through movement. And again, we can only understand this if we begin to see. There's another word which is connected to Sayyad, which is Sarah. He went for a walk. So you can see the importance now of the root letters, as in the importance that we started with in the first slide of the tree. The tree is magnificent. It's a mother tree. It will connect it to Surah Ibrahim, but it all begins with the roots. Okay. So let's just go on to the next slide. And let's just look at the term tree in Arabic. Okay. Shajara. Okay. So in Arabic, we may see, as I said to you, long words. Okay. And we need to be able to see the word. Remember, each letter, each word, each ayat, each surah are signs, and they need to be, and they have so many layers that need to be peeled away. And so Again, back to relationships, back to patterns, back to context. So, shajara, break it down. Seen. Okay. Sheen, Jim, Ra. Not so much about the last letter, Ta, but the three trinatural root letters in tree, connects us to above the tree, is the Sheen, Jim, and the Ra. Remember, each letter is in itself an ayah. Each letter has its own shape. Each letter is descriptive. So, Sheen, the letter Sheen, okay, means spread, to spread. It means to disperse. The letter Jim means to assemble and to join. And the letter Ra means order. So you've got three letters, which has given you the name of the tree. Sheen, Jim, and Ra. We understand it. Spread, disperse, assembly, join, and order. So even if we just take that one letter, so this is connecting us to Nazm of the Quran, structure, ordinance, and coherence. So we're delving further into this beautiful science. So as you now begin to continue to have this further relationship with the Quran and you see a letter Sheen, it should now connect you to, okay, this word is beginning to open layers up, a signpost to explore. It's connecting me now to understand that this word is connecting to something which is spreading, something which is dispersing, or Jim, something which is connected to assembling and joining, or Ra, which is order. Go on to the next slide. And we see the alphabet, okay? We learn this in the Maktab, but it's so deep. It's not just alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. And we say it and repeat it, just like A, B, C, D, but it has so much meaning, okay? Each letter has so many layers. If we've just gone through Sheen, Jim, and Ra, then we could spend so long in going through each of these letters and their meanings. And it's all there in the Nazm of the Quran. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that tawfiq, we can spend many weeks going through each letter and its descriptive meaning with each letter, and then how it fits to the next letter, the next letter, and the next letter. So it connects to all of these roots, okay, which is bringing. So in fact, all of these roots, every time you turn one page of the Quran, okay, what I see, inshallah, you will see as well, you're just seeing roots. It's like roots of a tree on every single page. So let's just take three more letters, Jim, Ha, and Kha. The Jim, for example, the descriptive understanding is to gather. Let's look at Ha. The understanding is connected to life. And the Kha is to create. Bring all of those together. So when you sing Jim, Ha, and Kha, it's connecting you to something to do with gathering, life, and creation. And all have their own particular shape. And shape is also important with Nazm of the Quran. And shape, again, is important when we are connecting to the natural world, in our patterns, in our relationships, okay? Understanding ecosystems, begin to think like ecosystems. So we have the Quran, which is revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and which is containing shapes. And then we have the Al-Kitab al-Kawn, or the Al-Quran Taqwini, which is also containing shapes of the natural world, which then leads and opens doors to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and his attributes. So frequency, okay? Frequency, okay, is important, and it shapes our entire world. It shapes us as the micro, it shapes the macro as well. And we haven't got time, but the importance of the science of tajweed. Why is there so much emphasis on the science of tajweed? How every letter must be pronounced correctly from its makhraj, from its part, its part within the throat, or the back of the throat, or the chest. There's no other language like it. And each letter, and research is showing now, even in the English language, with the vowels, that it's connecting to, and it's connecting to a toroidal field, okay, in how the letters are pronounced. So if that research is being carried out on the English vowels, imagine the perfection that every letter that we are reciting in the Quran, okay, and the effect that the shape has, but with the sound, that it's creating this toroidal field with the pattern of the torus, okay, which we've mentioned before, the torus, which is surrounding the earth, surrounding the heart. It's that torus shape that is, which is surrounding, which is the core shape, the core pattern of all creation, including ourselves and including the tree. And this toroidal field, okay, that it's around us, and with this toroidal pattern, okay, every letter, alif, ba, ta, tha, with each letter coming together to perform a word, and how it's coming out of our mouths, how we form each letter, okay, is connecting us to resonance, sound, the frequency, then the patterns. Each pattern is connecting to the next pattern, to the next pattern, to the next pattern, which is then connecting into a spiral, which is then the resonance. Very important. And so this is all connecting to a gateway from the physical to the metaphysical. And we'll see how later on, and we've mentioned before in other sessions, particularly during the Hajj period, how it connects to the cosmic. Go into the next slide. Shape, form, vibration, frequency, resonance. Okay. Every letter that we are reciting, alif, ba, ta, every word is connecting us. It's affecting our whole environment through this toroidal field which is surrounding us. The letters are coming out. This is why the science of tajweed is of the utmost importance. And so if the perfection of creation, when they're doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they're doing the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that frequency, that resonance, that form that the bird is singing, tree is humming in languages that we no understanding of, that frequency, okay, inshallah ta'ala, when we talk about the divine order, we talk about the divine order, and the frequencies, inshallah ta'ala, must connect to the qalb and to the right brain hemisphere, because it is only the qalb as-salim that is going to be of any help for us when we are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our purpose in life is to connect to the fitrah and to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine language. And this is why all of the shape, the form, the vibration, the frequency, the resonance of the Arabic language is the basic foundations. But each letter, each word, it's coming out with the correct makhraj, it's coming out in perfect shape, perfect form, perfect frequency, perfect pattern, which is connecting to the next pattern, which is causing spirals, which is causing a resonance. That's how the sound moves. It resonates. Next slide, please. Phonetic emphasis. So we've explored the tree. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا. كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. There's another ayat, and obviously the next ayat talks about once the roots have been established and the branches are going high, then with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fruit will then become abundant, will then grow. Okay, that's a separate lesson, but very deep. Okay, we can plant the seed, we can water, but that is as much as we can do. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows, it is only Him that will allow the fruit to grow. Otherwise, the tree can grow and grow and grow, the branches can grow, the leaves can be there, but the blossom can be there, but there's no fruit. Hence, ayat 24 is completely separate to ayat 25. But key lesson tonight is alam tara. And in the translation is, have you not considered? In translations, and we've told you before, have you not seen, as in to look at the tree. Remember, this ayat was revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so when we teach this, when we take people to the mother tree, into the forest, into the wood, we are saying, look at the tree. Okay, that's an outdoor workshop. Look at the tree. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first commanded the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to also look at the tree. Isn't that amazing? We are doing that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Prophet to look at the tree. But it's more than just look, or in translations, to observe. Alam tara means to think, because alam tara comes up quite a few times, and it will come up in another ayat in a few moments. But it was also revealed in Surah Fil in relation to the elephants, and how the elephants, before the birth of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him himself, okay, there's the whole surah there, okay, alam tara kayfa, okay, about the elephants, but the Prophet was not there to see the elephants. So this alam tara, yes, observing and seeing, but it is to think. So the message here to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is to think. Okay. Anyway, that's one lesson. But notice how beautifully, okay, if a Qari was reciting this with beautiful tajweed and beautiful melody, alam tara kayfa daraballahu, it flows, it's with harmony, it's beauty, it's effortless. And that's how this mother tree should grow, the seed and the sapling, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. Back to Nazm of the Quran, okay? Here, we have to come to Tajweed, because now we need to look further into Surah Iblees in this ayat. To the term ikhfa, okay? Ikhfa is where you're going to see the letters ta, tha, jim, dal, dal, ra, sin, sheen, sol, do, to, tho, fa, qaf, and kaf. If any of these letters, okay, ta, jim, dal, dal, ra, sin, sheen, so, do, to, do, fa, qaf, kaf. If any of these letters, this is ikhfa in tajweed. If any, and this is part of the nazm of the Quran, so I'm taking you a little bit further. If any of these letters appear after the noon sakin, okay, or a tanween, okay, there is a nasal sound. So now we're going back to sound. Okay? Sound, which we covered in some weeks, is also part of this whole beautiful journey of the nazm of the Quran, to help you have a more of a closer relationship. The nasal sound is made. And when we recite ayat 24 of the tree, okay, so notice that when these letters come up with the ikhfa, with the tajweed understanding, that when we are reciting, that it's clear, it's smooth, it's easy on the tongue, subhanallah. Just because for us the lesson is because this is a good tree. Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan kalimatan tayyiba. This is a good tree, good word to a good tree. La ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So in this, when you are reciting this ayat, you're not stopping. There's no sudden abrupt jerks. It's smooth because obviously of this tajweed law, okay, but it's also connecting us to sound. But if you then went, which we haven't gone into, but I just wanted to focus on this ayat, if you went a bit further into the ayat following after ayat 25, which connects to the fruit, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes onto the tree, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the example, okay, of the bad tree. And with the bad tree, there's no ikhfa, okay, which means that the ikhfa is absent. So the noon is pronounced, which means that after the noon, there has to be a stop. There has to be an abrupt end. Okay, it's not flowing properly. You can't go through the ayah smoothly as with ayah 24. So the picture you should get, because when we've looked at some of the surahs and some ayats in the Quran, is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses imagery as well. So the image is of the good tree, the seed, the sapling is growing and stretching, and it's growing and growing, stretching, stretching, stretching with beautiful ease. And that's how the Muslim should be. But with the bad tree, it's not smooth, it's abrupt, okay? Because of this tajweed law that isn't there, then we begin to see that the bad tree, it's affecting how it's growing, hence the roots don't go into the ground. SubhanAllah. Another way of looking at Surah Ibrahim, ayat 24, with sound and tajweed rules, which connects it to Nazm of the Quran. Next slide. Surah Baqarah. Okay. Let's go a little bit further. And thus we have made you a just community. Okay. Can we expand that a little bit more, sister? Is that at all possible?
No, I won't be able to.
Okay, don't worry. But the word, the part that I just want you to focus on, again, this is to do with Nazm of the Quran, the structure of words and the sentences, and where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts words. So we're dipping in and out of a few things tonight. We're all connected to the Nazm of the Quran. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعْلَنَّاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. Okay, in the translation here, a just community, a middle nation. Okay? A middle nation, which, if we start to look at the connections and relationships, it automatically should connect us to the tree, to the good tree, okay, to the root system, okay, because our role, and which is one of the principles of Hearts SEE, and our role on earth is to become the Khalifa. But in order to become the Khalifa, we need to become guides before we can become guardians. And to become the Khalifa, we need to be that person, that nation, okay, who is maintaining that balance. But what's interesting here is, subhanAllah, is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts this ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is a Meccan surah, ayat 143. So you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah in the Quran, and look how long the revelation took to come down, over 23 years. And it didn't even come in book form. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. So the Quran didn't come down in book form. So every ayat, every surah which came down to the Prophet peace and blessings be upon him, and he dictated it to the companions. It wasn't in book form. It was the Prophet saying, put this ayat here, put that word there. So Nazm of the Quran was taking place with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, himself, over this tremendous period of time. And so Surah Al-Baqarah is the longest surah. But look, if you look yourself in ayat 143, it's right in the center of the whole surah. And the key lesson here in ayat 143, which is in the center of the surah, is that I've made you, thus we have made you a just community. Ummah, what's that? A just community. That community which is like the good tree, which works on justice, which works on mizan. And in your own time, just go to Surah Al-Rahman and go look at ayat 1 to, I think it's go up to ayat 10. And notice how many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to mizan. And when you see, I think it's 3 times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to mizan, but in different contexts, and relate that connectedly to ayat 143. Okay, another example of the structure, the audience, and then you could relate that. So how this ayat is right in the center of Surah Al-Baqarah, which is another lesson that every time you approach a surah, it is like an ecosystem, and the key fundamental point lesson in each surah is in the center. That connects us to the wonderful teachings of permaculture, and particularly social permaculture, when we look at zoning and the importance of zone 0, 0. And we can go on and on and on, because we're seeing these amazing connections. Next slide. Let's go on. Surah An-Nur. Okay, another image, okay, that is established and allows further connections. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes back. Alam tara. Anallaha yusabbihu. Again, alam tara. Okay, yes. Let's look at the translation here. Do you not see? But remember, we've already understood from Surah Ibrahim is that it, not just the seeing and the observation, but the thinking, and how that connects to the brain hemispheres and tafakkur and tadabbur. You can see how once you get into this, the connections go on and on and on. Hence, the whole of the Quran is one organic whole. And believe me, once you're going on this journey, subhanAllah, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could just be thinking of one ayat, and through the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open doors for you and connect you to that ayat, to that ayat, to that ayat, to that ayat, to that hadith, to that ayat. And you're on this journey that doors open, okay? And you're just on this journey, and you're traveling, and you might be present somewhere, but you're not, subhanAllah. But Allah only enables these doors to be open for a short time, and then the door shuts. And often, because it's such a powerful thing that Allah opens the doors for you to see these connections, that you want to savor them. And sometimes it just goes, and it's difficult to recapture what it was all about, inshallah. So here, do you not see how that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exalted, okay, by whoever is within the heavens and the earth, exalted yusabbihu. So it starts there, okay, this is present tense, future tense, but it starts with a dhamma. This is going back to nahwa and so on. Here, if it's with a dhamma, it means that all of creation, whether we know it or we don't know, in the heavens and the earth, all of creation is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But look how then Allah talks about the birds, by the birds with wings spread out. Look at the word, how Allah is describing the bird with its wings out. Look at that word, Safa, and that beautiful tajweed ruling of the mud, which is on top. And the mud is there, which means to stretch. So the image here, Allah SWT is making it clear that all of creation that we know or we don't know is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens and the earth, and then connects us to this beautiful image of birds. Birds that are soaring. So these are birds, as a biologist, as a raptorologist, so and particularly we're talking about Arabia. So it's going to be eagles. It's definitely going to be vultures, because I've seen them and I've studied them in Arabia, not even far from Taif and Mecca. And these birds, so Allah is saying that the bird, the eagle, the vulture, the raptor, with its wings outstretched, okay? The reason is because they're on a thermal. But from the ayat, they are doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's go into the image a bit more. Go on to the next slide. And we will see how let's bring this ayat 41 into our current scene, okay? Because Allah wants to create an image for us. That the bird, okay, with the warm air, with the updraft, hence the eagles, hence the vultures of Arabia, they work on great heights from the mountains, and Arabia is full of amazing landscape. It's not just desert, it's mountain range. And you can see here this whole process: warmer air, updraft, cooler air, downwards, rising air, cools and descends back to ground. And Sister Hafsa, alhamdulillah, put this together, alhamdulillah. Then it shows you a glider's flight path. And this is all showing you thermals. Now, we know for a fact, I don't know so much about eagles, but vultures, when you study Islamic art, okay, and vultures were in have been seen, and I've seen them a lot in art, and they're there in Arabia. I studied them, okay, in the field in Arabia, and these massive birds, to get up high, to put their wings out, they have to work on thermals. And vultures, as I said, I'm not sure about the eagles, but the vultures that I've studied, they can actually see the thermals. So when you're seeing the birds on a thermal, they're seeing, it's like steps. They're going from one thermal to the next thermal to the next thermal. Because, excuse me, by gliding, they're saving their energy. Go on to the next slide. But the pattern here, so you see the picture of the vultures on the left, and that could also be eagles. Look at the picture below. Okay, these are pictures that I was seeing I've seen in Africa, around the world, but in Arabia. But look at the pattern, okay, that the bird, okay, is going on a spiral. The thermal is on a spiral. Isn't that amazing? That's the pattern to get the bird up to a great height. Effortlessly, they just go up and up and up. Notice this pattern is connecting us to the pattern which is there, which is the core pattern, which is surrounding all of creation in that toroidal field, which is the torus pattern, okay? It's all there, that core pattern surrounding the earth, the apple, the human, the heart, the core pattern. And this spiral is connecting to the resonance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look at the eagle, look at the vulture with its wings outspread. So you're seeing the bird that's going on a thermal, it's going round on a spiral. But in terms of the ayat, and when you connect with the ulama, as Allah says, kunum as-sadiqeen, they are doing zikr. Yeah? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, when we penetrate the Quran, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, trees, birds, vultures, mountains, we need to study and become scholars of all of these fields, hence the role of the polymath with the ulama. Then the imagery really comes alive. And we'll go on to the next slide, because then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then brings this alive even more. Is there one more slide? How then that spiral, which is there in that ayat, safa, okay, with the wings out, the bird spiraling, okay. How a few weeks ago we talked about the cosmic tawaf. Again, how the Hajjis are making tawaf around the Kaaba, and how above the Kaaba, spiraling around, are the angels making tawaf, and the seven heavens, and the next Kaaba, and the next Kaaba, and the next Kaaba. How all of this connects in, if you just study the Sufi poet, I forgot his name now, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, the Sufi poet Rumi, okay, and how he developed the cosmic dance is called the Dervish dance, where they dress up in a costume, and it's a dance that's supposed to imitate the atom and the nucleus going round and round, going anti-clockwise, just like with the tawaf, just like the vulture going round and round and round. And the more that they're going round and round and round, there's a vortex that is created, which then goes up and up and up and up. It's like then going from the earthly Kaaba, going up to the angels, right up to the throne, the Arsh of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like there with a thermal, it starts to go up and up and up. And so the bird's going up and up and up through this vortex. But this is the resonance that's taken the bird up. It connects us to the tawaf and the Sufi poet Rumi. That's why he does this. That's why he established this cosmic dance, which is his famous dance. But it's all there, inshallah ta'ala, in that ayat. Okay, Yusabbihu, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the birds with his wings stretched out. If you don't start to study about the birds and how they fly and their feathers and connecting all of these dots, you won't get the imagery that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to bring alive. And then the last slide. Surah Fussilat, Senurihim ayatina fil ard. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to show the signs on the horizons and within themselves, which connects to, again, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, and how we've explained in ayat of the Surah Alaq. The lesson is for the Prophet to look at the macro and the micro, and again it's repeated here. Look at the macro and the micro, and the signs will continually come about. Why? Because here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off with the seen, which means most definitely. Okay. So the more that we see, we observe, and we think, and we start to engage with the Quran through the nazm of the Quran, through the sounds, through the shapes, the signs will continue to come. Whether we like it or not, they're going to come in the macro and the micro. And these signs are showing one complete interconnected whole. Next slide. Signs will continue for those who can see. And it's the heart which connects to the right brain hemisphere. Next slide. And again, look, the vortex, the thermal, again, which we've seen tonight, okay, the tree, the toroidal field, the torus, and look at the drawing on the left-hand side, the design language of nature. The petal, the flower, which is supposed to be the base, the leaf here on the ground, it's all coming down from above, from the templates, okay, through spiral action, through the resonance. One pattern connecting to the next pattern, connecting to the pattern, to the next pattern. So all of nature's templates, all of the patterns of the rose and the leaf are in the heavens. And through the resonance and the spiraling, it's all coming down. And it's through the vibration, okay, which is the energy. So there's vibration, there's emotional vibration, there's mental vibration, there's spiritual vibration, there's the physical vibration, which is the energy, which is the resonance, which is the frequency. So when you look at the leaf and you go through these levels of Islamic contemplation, you shouldn't no longer see the leaf. You should be able to see the vortices. You should be able to see all this resonance taking place. You see the leaf, you're seeing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right in front of you, which is connecting to the tree, which is connecting to all of the zikr in creation, which it was there in that ayat that we've just been through. You subdue that everything is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so inshallah ta'ala, with Allah's blessing, we will continue to go through and to uncover as much as we can. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.